Hey, welcome to Sports Unfold, a very special NHL preview show. Eric and Ron. Ron, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
Ron, you already got the hockey gear on. You ready to go? Your bees.
I'm ready to go. I have stuff everywhere here. It's like
guy.
a war room.
You're the hockey guy. You're going to make this work, my friend.
Yep.
Right.
I gotcha.
Mess. I don't know what's going on over there. Can't get it right. All right, let's just go with it. All right, so we're going to start off in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic Division. And basically, we'll just go through team by team. I'll kind of give you some stats, and then you can discuss some of the player personnel and what you think is going to happen with some of these teams, okay? So first team we're going to discuss the Florida Panthers, who last season went 37-14 and 5, so 79 points overall. They're coached by Joel Quenneville.
Joel Quenneville.
Quenneville, yeah. Again, I'm going to hack a lot of these names, so Ron, I appreciate the assistance. They were fourth in goals for with 3.36, 2.70 goals against, which was ninth in the league. Power plays, they were 20.5%, so 15th, so about middle of the pack, and penalty kills, 79.8, ranked 18th overall. Jonathan, is it Huberdeau?
Huberdeau, yes.
Hey, look at that. I got one right. 61 points was their point leader, 20 goals, 41 assists. And then Chris Dreiger.
Yep, the goaltender.
14, 6, and 3 with a 2.07 goals against. What can you tell us about the Florida Panthers?
This is they're gonna be good. They're gonna put up a lot of points. When you look at their roster, the first thing that sticks out is Barkov. Like, he didn't lead the team, but he's going to have a great year this year. He's going to center Reinhart, and he's going to be on the line with Reinhart and Verhaeghe. He's a scoring threat at all times. Huberdeau
last season, so.
Yeah, Huberdeau might have led the team in points. That's not going to happen this year if Barkov stays healthy. So they have two solid lines, but you add Joe Thornton to the mix now. He's probably going to center the third line, and that'll probably be with a former Bruin, Frank Vatrano, and Holmqvist. And those two players are really good players. So Joe Thornton is going to thrive on that line. He would fit perfectly with Vatrano because all he has to do is just get him that puck, and Vatrano is gonna slap it in.
42 years old. What has he got left though? What do you think?
I think he wants to win a Stanley Cup, and I think going to Florida gives him that chance. I don't know if it'll happen, but this team, to me, looks like it's built for the playoffs. And like top to bottom, I love this team top to bottom, really do.
Bobrovsky, change at goalie though with Sergio Bobrovsky.
Bobrovsky was there last year, but he didn't have as good as a season that he normally has. Like, normally he would be like vying for the Vezina. 906 save percentage was very low for him. It's not even, average. Yeah. So he did not have a good year, and it showed in the team's results in the playoffs, because that's where Bobrovsky is supposed to step up and be better, and he did not do that, and neither did Dreiger. So
yeah, if you look at it, he's the highest paid player on the team, so obviously the expectation would be that he's gonna, he's $10 million as a cap hit. Yeah. So ultimately, you would think that, he's got to be that key for them to get there. How about defensively? Do you feel pretty good about them defensively?
Absolutely. Like, they have Ekblad and Uyghur. They are the anchor for this team. I just think they have a good nucleus of defense. They can play offensively. They have some good puck movers to get the forwards the puck. Like I said, I think it was just the lack of that stellar goaltending that kind of hurt them. It bit them in the foot this year, and it wasn't supposed to. That was supposed to be their strength. So they're hoping Achari is ready to go. Like, Achari has to get back what he... Okay, so when Achari was in Boston, he was a fourth liner, a banger, and get the, the adrenaline going. He goes to Florida in his first year, and he lights it up, and he scores a lot of goals. Well, last year that didn't happen. He basically didn't put up hardly any numbers, and so they're hoping if Achari gets back to that form, the addition to Joe Thornton, I mean, they're going to have 3 solid lines and a fourth line that is very solid defensively, anchored by Duclair. This team is going to be a force, depending on their goaltending.
All right. But let's move on to obviously a team we could talk about for probably hours at a time. But we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. The Boston Bruins last season were 33-16-7, 73 points, coached by Bruce Cassidy. Brad Marchand led the team with 69 points, so 29 goals, 40 assists. Tuukka Rask obviously was the goalie, 15-5-2 with a 2.28 goals against. Goals for, they were 2.93, 14th overall in the league. Goals against, 2.39, fourth, so very good defensively with making sure they weren't getting scored on. Power plays, 21.9, 10th overall in the league. Penalty kills, 86% at second overall. So obviously able to kill the penalties was key for them. And obviously you saw that with the goals against. But what do we think about the Boston Bruins and what they need to do?
Well, this is the interesting part, because last year it was all the eggs in one basket until trade deadline. When they brought in Hall, that changed a lot, because that woke up Krejci, and that line started scoring with Krejci, Smith, and Hall, and it certainly changed the outlook of Boston for the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, and Krejci's gone, right? So
Krejci goes off, and now he's playing in Europe in his Czech league or wherever he's playing. So the Bruins decided, okay, so we're going to go for it this year. And the evidence in that is who they signed. They signed Eric Haula, Nick Foligno. Both those guys will be on the third line. And they moved Coyle up to that second line with Hall and Smith. Coyle did not have a good year last year. Let's be honest with that. He had a terrible year. He was better in the playoffs, but not good. But I think he's going to have a bounce back year. And so far from what I've seen in the preseason, he's played very well with Hall and Smith. Haula is with DeBrusk and Foligno, and they're hoping that DeBrusk plays better. If not, DeBrusk will find the shuttle out very soon. Then they brought also in Nosek and put him as the center of the fourth line, even though they had Lazar, and they also had Studnicka and Frederick that could also center that fourth line. But they're putting Nosek primarily with Frederick and Kuhlman. I don't know where that leaves Lazar, Studnicka, and Wagner, but oh well, You were
very high on Studnicka, correct?
I am. I'm still high on Studnicka. I think he's going to get in there and he's going to play. And I think there's going to be a shuttle with those 3 guys, with Studnicka and Lazar. I think Wagner his days are numbered in Boston. And then they also went out and got Forbert for defense. And from what I see from the other night when they played Washington, even though they lost in preseason, the lines work, and I think they did a good job with that. The big thing is when trade deadline comes in, they do have players that they can move to get somebody big. They could also end up turning around and signing Krejci at the deadline, after he's done with his Czech league. And that could happen.
So
I wouldn't be surprised. So it's like getting a new player, even though it's somebody that you've always had. And then that gives a lot of leeway for the Bruins if they go and get somebody. Like, I don't want to see it happen, but if I'm trading Studnicka for like an Eichel, thank you. Thank you. I mean, why not? I mean, Eichel is not going to play there. So you can actually do that move now and get Eichel in here, and that changes a lot. And
so
that team could be offensive.
Yeah. So the one deficiency that we really got to talk about is goaltending, right? Rask, we know, is out for quite some time. Linus Ullmark is who they signed to bring in as the starter. I know you've seen him in the preseason, and you've had some opinions on his play.
Yeah, I think he's shaky at best. And I don't think it's going to be long before Swayman takes the number one spot. I really don't. I think he's the guy that should be number one, and it's only a matter of time before he wrestles that away.
So ultimately, do you feel like they've improved enough where they're still contenders for the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely. They are definitely a contender. Like I like the makeup of Howler and Foligno. That addition is pretty good, especially for your third line. I mean, like most teams would kill to have those guys on their second line. Mm-hmm. The Bruins are just blessed with some great players. I mean, Hall, and Smith.
We didn't discuss Bergeron.
No, I mean, that's like one of the best lines in hockey.
And Pasternak. So you got Pasta and Bergeron, and that Marchand is that first line.
Yeah.
So, it looks like, what I mean? They've got the three stars there.
Yeah.
Can they all, put the same outputs they did last season? And then that Krejci loss, will it affect them in that second line?
I don't think it's going to affect them, to be honest with you. I see what Coyle brings. Coyle has a way of holding on to that puck with his long reach. People can't get it away from him. And with Hall, his brain power, just being able to get open all the time, Coyle can get him the puck a lot. And I think Hall is going to have a lot of point-blank shots, and he's going to have a monster year.
So let's move on to our next team. And that's going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs, who went 35-14-7, so 77 points, coached by Sheldon Keefe. Mitchell Marner was their leading scorer.
Mitch Marner, yeah.
67 points, so 20 goals, 47 assists. Frederick Anderson was the goaltender last season, 13-8-3, 2.96 goals against.
He is gone.
So you look at what they did overall as a team. Goals for, they were sixth overall in the league with 3.32. Goals against, 2.64. Seventh. Power play 16th though, 20%, and then penalty kills 78.5. So 24th overall. So one of the bottom teams in the league. Did they do enough to improve at least on the power play and the penalty kills in your eyes?
No. And here's why, because they didn't do anything defensively. I think, this is the problem with Toronto. Toronto always chokes in the playoffs, and this year is going to be no different. Okay, so they basically blamed Frederick Anderson for losing in the playoffs. And that was a big part of it. But when you're getting pelted with point-blank shots all game long, that's the problem. So they didn't address getting a solid defenseman. This is a team that could have benefited from signing a Chara. Chara comes in, plays on the second pairing, and teaches all these young players how to actually play the game. Because this defense doesn't know how to play the game. They make mistakes constantly, and there's no one checking them, on their accountability. And the other problem is the forwards, they're just interested in scoring. So they're not coming back and helping those defensemen. So you have a complete breakdown of the whole system. So it doesn't matter who's going to be in net. They're going to get pelted again this year in the playoffs. Like it's net. You're not going to know during the regular season. You're not going to
put up enough goals to
exactly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but John Tavares, big signing last season for them, right? He ended up with 50 points, so 19 goals, 31 assists. Obviously, they need more production from him. He's their highest paid player on the team. Question would be to you then, Ron, who's starting at goalie? So they get 2 goalies on the roster right now, Jack Campbell and it looks like Petra Mrazek. Yeah.
He comes from California, from Carolina. Great goaltender. But again, if you don't have people, being accountable in your own end, it's not going to matter who's going. I don't care if you have Fleury, Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur. I don't care who you have in net. They're going to get pelted and they're going to give up goals. Their save percentage will be great because that's what they do. But you're going to give up goals because of the quality of the shots. And I look at the roster, like they picked up Ritchie. They signed Ritchie, former Bruin, last year. He's going to play, with Matthews and Marner. He's going to get goals banked off of him all game long. So he'll put up some numbers. But look, Ritchie was in Boston. He was one of the players that I was infuriated with not coming back and helping the defense. And that cost him. That cost the Bruins. When you got guys like Corrali and Ritchie and DeBrusque, and they're not shoring up their own zone, and that line gets hemmed in over and over and over again. The same thing is going to happen with Toronto. They signed Kasha, former Bruin last year, who's always injured. So he's probably never going to play. So, they went out and they signed some guys that have a lot of talent offensively, but when it comes down to it, they still didn't shore up their own end. When playoff time comes, they're going to have a hard time. They probably won't make it out of round 1 or 2.
So, real quick, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm not sure if you know, but it looks like Austin Matthews is injured right now. Is that a long injury, or is that something serious that fans should be concerned about? When it comes to Austin Matthews, you should always be worried about that.
Great
top player and him being hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be some time. Let me see if I can get anything new on him. I don't see anything new on him, but you're looking at a wrist injury. So it's probably nothing major, but I mean, it is your star player, so you always got to be concerned. Even though it's a wrist, it's probably a bruised wrist or something like that. He's day to day, so he might not even miss a game.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the defending Stanley Cup champions. That'll be the Tampa Bay Lightning. They went 36-17-3 in the regular season, 75 points. Coached by John Cooper. Leading score of points was Braden Point, 48 points, 23 goals, 25 assists. And I screw this up every time. Andre Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky.
I was closer this time.
I think he's the best goaltender. Yeah.
Right. 31-10-1. So 2.21 goals against. They were 8th overall in the league with goals for at 3.21, goals against 2.59, 6th overall. Power play 22.2%, 9th in the league, and then penalty kills 84.2, 4th overall. So obviously in the top 10 in all, those major categories. Can this team repeat?
No. They lost a bunch of players because obviously, when you have free agents, when you're a Stanley Cup winner 2 years in a row, you can't afford everybody. And losing Johnson is going to be big for them because that's, taken away from their, third line and it's giving somebody a second line center. So when you're losing some pieces and you go and you try to sign some players to fill those holes, but they're not as good, the results aren't going to be there. And I like their first line and I like their second line. Stamkos is slated to be on the third line, which is very puzzling to me. I'm wondering if there is a definite decline that they've noticed. And that could be because I don't think he wasn't the key factor for them winning the Stanley Cup this year. And you could say that the previous year. Like he's a great goal scorer. But if there is a decline and they're seeing it and then they're putting him on the third line, that's kind of an odd thing that I've noticed. So that's a factor that I think we need to take a look at, the first couple of weeks of the season to see if he's up to, his physical abilities. And I'm afraid that he might not be, because I noticed it in the playoffs. He wasn't as dynamic. So, I mean, they still won the Stanley Cup. So they have players on the team.
Yeah. So I want to thank Marinated Kitty for joining, Turd Mistress for the bits. And then obviously the fact that you're listening to us, not even understanding. Thank you. Dirty Die, thanks for joining. So we got a lot of Twitch out there. We appreciate all the support. We are on our NHL preview show. My hockey guy Ron's going through each team, and we're going to just discuss each one. Anything else on Tampa Bay that you would feel could be of importance?
I just think that they're overworking Vasilevsky.
Yeah, and it's going to be very tough to three-peat, right?
It is. Everybody's gunning for them.
You don't see very often in any sport. So the fact that they may even still be, involved in the playoffs and have an opportunity, I mean, that alone stands to show some longevity with how good of talent they do have.
Yeah, and let me tell you, they're probably happy that the divisions are back to normal, because I fear for them, they might not have made the playoffs this year if it was like last year. Just saying.
Gotcha.
I think there's definitely a decline.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Ottawa Senators. Who were,
speaking of decline.
Yes, 23, 28, and 5, 51 points last season. Coached by DJ Smith. Brady Tkachuk.
Brady Tkachuk.
See, there's your hockey. 17 goals, 19 assists, 36 points. Last season, goalie was Matt Murray, went 10, 13, and 1, 3.38 goals against, so not very good there. Goals for, they were 19th in the league at 2.77, and goals against 3.38, 28th overall. Power plays, 15.5 at 26th overall in the league, and then penalty kill 79, which was 20th. So not very good numbers at all for Ottawa. Did they do anything to improve and possibly in a very tough conference division?
No, they went backwards because Tkachuk is not there. And look, I'm looking at this roster, and I don't see them beating anybody out but Buffalo. Like, it's terrible. Yeah, like, even the players that they signed just aren't good enough. Their goaltending, it's going to be bad. It's bad because Murray has an .893 save percentage. Yeah. That's not NHL numbers. And he's their number one. Like, Forsberg, he's the backup goaltender, 909. That's too low.
Yeah, and 3.21 against. So, again, he gives up at least 3 goals. And if you're only going to score 2 and change.
You're not going to score 2 and change. I think you might score 2.
Say hello.
This is a bad offensive team.
Yeah, so we're not gonna spend much time on Ottawa. We don't think they're gonna do much here. So let's move on to the team that surprised most people, and that would be the Montreal Canadiens. And obviously, what they were able to do last season, going into the Stanley Cup, which was very unexpected. They were 24, 21, and 11, 59 points. Coached by Dominique Ducharme. Sure. Ducharme. Tyler Toffoli. 44 points, 28 goals, 16 assists. Jake Allen was their goaltender. during the regular season that came up for me, and I know they obviously had Carey Price, but 11, 12, and 5, so 2.68 goals against. Goals for, they were 17th overall in the league at 2.82. Goals against 2.95, 18th. Power plays 19.2 at 17, and penalty kills at 78.5, so 23rd. So if you look overall at the numbers, wasn't very good. Obviously, Carey Price got very hot in the playoffs and carried him. So him being out is going to hurt him. Currently, can this team even make a repeat playoff run?
No. First of all, they were in that Canadian conference division. So a lot of those teams did not play very well last year, and Montreal capitalized on it. With those numbers, that's not a playoff team, and they made an incredible run. Thank you, Carey Price. But Carey Price is now taking some time off.
Yep, which we discussed on Friday's show. So
right, so that leaves at least the first couple of months for Montreal with a lot of losing to do, because they also lost some players. Tatar was one of them. And when you're losing your drive, because they lost Perry to Tampa Bay, when you losing your top scorer and the heart of the team with Corey Perry, you're not gonna do well. And now they're in the regular division where you have to contend with Boston and Tampa and Florida. It's going to be very difficult.
Very daunting for them to even try to repeat.
Right.
So, do you feel like if Carey Price comes back early enough that they possibly still have a chance, or is it they're too far down on the depth chart with talent that they may not even have an opportunity to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I like their first line, but their first line would be like a second line on most teams. They're just not going to have the horses, not in this division. When you have to, like I said, the Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Florida, those teams are good. Those are good teams. They can't compare to them. So you're already 4 back, and top 3 in each division go to the playoffs, and then 2 wild cards. So they would have to be better than some of the other good teams that are in the Metropolitan, and that's not happening.
I gotcha. All right, so let's talk about a couple of other teams that are inept in this division.
Yeah.
And we'll start with Detroit Red Wings, who went 19, 27, and 10, so 48 points. Coached by Jeff Blashill. Philippe Hardon, 26 points, so 2 goals, 24 assists. Thomas Greasy was their goaltender last season, 8, 15, and 8 with a 2.70 goals against. 2.23 goals for as a team, 30th in the league. 3.00 against, which was 20th. Power play, they were 11.4, 30th. And penalty kills, 78.7, which was 22nd. So not very good numbers at all.
No.
What did you see from Detroit?
But I'll tell you what I do like about Detroit. I like Detroit's front office. And I know it's been hard for the Detroit Red Wings fans to see them this far down, but they are on the climb. They got a lot of young, good, talented players, and I'm gonna butcher his name. Nedeljkovic, goaltender, has a .932 save percentage. That is outstanding. And he himself could, if he plays like that, he could win a lot of games for Detroit, and this could be a dark horse.
So that was 1.9 goals against, 1.90 goals against, right? 93 save percentage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really, yeah.
So
who did you play for last season? Do you know?
And off the top of my head, no.
I'm gonna check. Let me see if I can. Go ahead.
It might have been with them, but the key right now for them.
He was drafted by Carolina.
the key for them is getting Jacob Vrana back. They made a trade for him, at the end of the trade deadline. They traded some players and got him back. If he can come back and shore up that first line, they will have a really, really good first line. And a decent second line. And they can do some damage against teams that come in there thinking that they're going to just run them out of the building. You won't be able to do that because Detroit does have some talent. If you look top to bottom, this is a young team, and it's going to be very difficult in some nights to get things going because of that inexperience. But in a couple of years, this team could be a powerhouse.
Yeah, so I'm looking at their first line right now. Lucas Raymond. He's 19 years old. Looks like he's going to be starting on that first line. So he doesn't even have stats. So obviously very young.
I'm putting Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Zadina. I think that's going to end up being that first line. Bertuzzi and Larkin. Larkin, I think right now is their best player. Bertuzzi will center, and I think Zadina will probably take that spot from him. And when Vrana comes back, though, all bets are off. He's going on that first line with Larkin and Bertuzzi, and that's going to be a force. They can put up numbers, but they're not going to have anything else to, be consistent. Gotcha.
So let's talk about the last team in this division, and that's the Buffalo Sabres. So obviously they were pretty bad last year. What did I get? 15, 34, and 7, 37 points overall. Don Granato is their coach. Sam Reinhart was their leading points with 40 points, 25 goals, 15 assists. Linus Ullmark, who we know is with Boston now, is 9-6-3 with a 2.63 goals against.
Both of those guys are going, by the way.
Oh, jeez. So goals for 2.39, which was 28th, and goals against 3.50, which was 29th. Penalty kills 21% at which was 12th overall, and then penalty kills 77.7 at 26th overall in the league.
It's a bad team.
Worse? Did they get worse?
Well, yeah, because they're going to trade Eichel before.
So you still think it's going to happen?
Yeah, he's not going to play for them. He's going to get traded. I would think some point this week he's probably going to get traded. And that's why I said with the Bruins you could trade a Studnicka for him or a DeBrusk. So that could happen. Now, you look at that offense, and that was with Eichel and with Taylor Hall for most of the year. It is going to get worse.
So it looks like Eichel's a max contract, though, right? Would Boston even be willing to trade for $10 million?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
He's also on injured reserve right now.
Yeah, that's not.
Is that more just a team move? So trade him?
Yeah. So it's their reason to just not play him, and because there's a trade that's going to be imminent, and it's going to probably happen this week. I wouldn't even be surprised if once we're done with the show, it's already happened. They did make a signing, Hinostroza, coming over, I believe, from Chicago Blackhawks. He is going to be on that right wing on the first line. And instead of Eichel, it's Middlestat, and you still have Skinner there, who was just awful last year. Awful. He might have been the biggest disappointment on any signing last year. Even if somebody signed somebody and they got hurt in the first game, Skinner would still be a more disappointing signing.
I love it.
It was that bad. He just hasn't even tried. Why sign there if you're not going to try? And it's just a shame. So Hinostroza goes in there. He had a couple of good years. I believe 16 goals he had one year was his best. I believe he signed $1 million contract this year for 1 year. and he's gonna try to put up some numbers, and he's gonna work hard. And I think with Middlestat and Hinostroza, they're gonna work hard. Skinner, I don't know what you're gonna get with him. He's supposed to be a goal scorer. If you can't score goals with Eichel and Hall, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Just by accident, you got to get 10.
Yeah,
so,
and they're locked in for another 6 years with him too. So Skinner.
Yeah, it's a really bad contract for them.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. And then goaltending didn't look much better. Greg Anderson, who's a 40-year-old goalie, played in 4 games last season, went 2-1. You know, his numbers look good, but that's 4 games.
Right.
And at 40 years old, he's not going to stop for you. And then Dustin Tokarski,
yeah,
3.54 goals, 2-8 last season. Not very good. So not looking any brighter for the Buffalo Sabres for next season.
No, they're looking at last place overall. Number 1 pick again.
All right, let's move on to we're going to stick in the Eastern Conference, but we're going to move on to the Metropolitan Division.
Metropolitan.
Columbus Blue Jackets is who we'll start with. They were 18, 26, and 12 last season, 48 points. Coached by Brad Larson. Oliver Borgstrand. Borgstrand,
yeah, okay.
Hey,
that's
all
good.
Right. 44 points, 18 goals, and 26 assists. Jonas Carpalesso. Carpalesso. You knew that was coming at some point. 19, 13, and 7 with a 3.30 goals against. They scored 2.39 goals, which was 29th, 3.29 against, which was 25th overall. Power play 15.4%, 27th, and penalty kills 79%, 21st overall. This team was pretty good a couple years ago. What happened?
The salaries. Columbus couldn't afford keeping players, and they had to trade them away. And that creates what you have now, a rebuilding process. They're trying to rebuild and stay competitive. I don't know. I don't know if that is going to work because, I mean, you look at the only significant player, and I only say it's significant because he's a former Bruin, is Sean Corrali. When you're that bad and you only bring in a Sean Corrali, you've got bigger problems.
Yeah, some of the high-priced guys. So they got what? Patrick
Laine is the key to everything.
And what about Jacob
Voracek, yeah. Like, he's a good player. 9 goals, 34 assists last year. He's a good player. And Laine, he's supposed to be one of the best goal scorers. Didn't happen that way last year. But, you know, they're gonna put Alexander Texier on the line with them to center them. I don't think that's going to be the answer. He's just not good enough. They really needed to pick up at least a center like Johnson from Tampa Bay. That would have been perfect for him to be there and center those 2 guys. But he went elsewhere. So
and then there's an Elvis in the building at goal.
Oh yeah, well, you know, Elvis Mazurkliniks. I mean, goaltender, 916 save percentage, 277. He's going to be their number 1. Korpisalo is a good young player. He still needs time. His save percentage was terrible.
Yeah,
it's just not good enough to be a starter. But having him as a backup and let him grow there, he's probably the goaltender of the future. Elvis will eventually leave the building.
His blue suede shoes, my friend.
That's right.
Well, let's move on to the Carolina Hurricanes. 36, 12, and 8, so 80 points. Rod Brindamore was their coach. Sebastian Aho.
Yes.
Okay, easy, buddy. You know what? You're an
Hey,
aho
don't
too,
call me an
okay?
a-ho.
57 points last season at top points, 24 goals, 33 assists. Alex Nedeljkovic. We'll go with that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
15-5-3 with a 1.90 goals against, so really good goaltending now. 3.3 goals for, so 11th overall. Goals against 2.39, so 5th. Very good there. Power plays, second best in the league with 25.6%. And penalty kills, they were 85.2, which was third best. So some really good numbers from the Hurricanes. Is this team as good, or did they do any make any improvements that will keep them in that kind of stature?
Well, they made a couple of additions that I liked, but there was one key subtraction, and that is Mrazek, the goaltender, going to Toronto. So they did the old switcheroo and signed Frederik Andersen, who is just abysmal in playoffs, as we discussed with Toronto before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I do like Anthony DeAngelo and Ian Cole. They shored up some defense. Ian Cole was a plus 21. I think that is a fantastic pickup. But with that, you also lost, Dougie Hamilton, and you're not going to fill that void either. So with those two voids, this team is going to slide back a lot. Look, I mean, Rod Brindamore, I like as a coach, and he can motivate teams. But if you don't have the horses, and you're in a division,
very tough division,
some great teams, it's going to be very difficult to make the playoffs this year. Last year, they were in a very soft division, and it was easy for them. And any team that's out there that based their season this year off of last year's divisions, oh boy, are they going to be in for a rude awakening. And Carolina is one of those teams.
Yeah, so like you said, there were so many different with COVID and how they did it last year that you can't really count what last year. And again, we're just throwing out the numbers, but obviously there was a lot of factors on some of these numbers and what happened.
I would probably say Ranta is probably going to take over that goaltending starting role from Frederik Andersen. I mean, his numbers are great coming from Arizona, and that's saying something. So if you have great numbers in Arizona, that's not an easy place to win. And he was able to put up some great numbers. 930 save percentage in 47 games. That is incredible numbers. That's the top 3 or 4 goaltenders in the league right there. And that is something that Carolina can work with. So if he's going to be the starter, because Frederik Andersen is not going to be able to do that. So it's just depending on Brindamore as the coach to make the correct moves. Yeah.
So a couple of interesting teams coming up now is the first one, the Washington Capitals. They were 36-15-5, 77 points. Coached by Peter Laviolette. I was pretty close. I'll give myself
you were. No, you were. That was good.
Nicholas Backstrom was their leading point. So 53 points, 15 goals, 38 assists. We kind of know why he got those assists.
Yeah, he's out with a hip injury, and they're saying it's week to week. So he's probably going to be gone for at least 2 to 3 weeks. And that's not good for Washington if he's going to have hip problems. He's 33 years old, so he's not a spring chicken.
So is it Vitek Vanecek? Was that goalie?
Vanecek?
21-10-4, so 2.69 goals against. They were they had 3.36 goals for, which was 5th overall, 2.88 goals against, which was 17th though. But power plays 24.8 third, and then penalty kills 84 and was ranked 5th in the league. So good numbers from a power play, a penalty kill, goals against. So defensively, did they shore themselves up enough to hopefully correct that part of the team?
With Washington, they made no significant pickups. So not only do they lose Chara on defense to help this team defensively, you didn't even pick up anybody to really replace him. You're just bringing somebody up from the minors. And that's what they did for their whole roster. I don't know. I mean, this team's still going to make the playoffs. But instead of looking at 3 solid lines, you're looking at 2 solid lines, and then you also have a defensive problem, and they need their goaltending to be really good, and it was average. It wasn't great.
Yeah, and then we didn't discuss, right? So Ovechkin, obviously at 36 years old, he's chasing Gretzky. I'm not sure he'll get there, but again, even if he does at 36, the expectation for him, last season, 24 goals, 18 assists. So obviously the numbers are starting to show as his age, he gets up there in age. So how much can they expect to ride that wave with him and continue to have success?
Look, if you get Backstrom back and you put Backstrom, Wilson,
back.
Back. If you put him, Wilson, and Ovechkin out on the ice together again, he's going to get his goals. Backstrom is one of the best center icemen that is playing the game right now. Injuries could slow him down, and that could be a factor as well. But I still think you put him on the power play, Ovechkin on the power play, and Ovechkin is going to get his goals. He's going to get his goals.
Gotcha.
So I would not be surprised 30 plus easily this year.
So another interesting team is the Pittsburgh Penguins, 37-16-3, so 77 points, coached by Mike Sullivan. Their top points was Sidney Crosby with 62 points, so 24 goals, 38 assists. Tristan Jarry was 25-9-3, so 2.75 goals against. Second overall in the league with goals for at 3.45, 2.77 goals against, which was 14th. But they were fourth in the power play with 23.7%, but penalty kills 77.4, which was 27th overall in the league. So again, couple of areas of concern would be goals against and penalty kills. Defensively, we know they got Crosby and they got some goal scoring.
Well, let me tell you some information that is more scary than those numbers for goals against and penalty killing. Sidney Crosby is going to be out for 6 weeks.
Wow, that long now. Okay.
So that's the word that I'm getting from them. So 6 weeks for Sidney Crosby is an awful long time. Now, normally, a team like Pittsburgh wouldn't have to worry about it because they have Malkin. Well, Malkin is out indefinitely with injuries that are undisclosed. So they could be without both for quite a while. That's going to be problematic because now if you're giving up those goals in penalty killing,
you're
not making it up, and you're going to be losing a lot of games. It's just when Malkin comes back, that'll stabilize things. I'm assuming Malkin will be back before Crosby, but you shouldn't do that because you never know. These players are getting older,
35 and 34 respectively. So Crosby's 34 and Malkin's 35. So again, you got to start to question that age factor like we just did with Ovechkin. And again, you're counting on these guys for a lot of, points and putting the puck in the net. And, if you don't have them on the ice, that's going to definitely hurt.
Right. And, they did bring a lot of players in, Brock McGinn, good player. I like that signing. Danton Heinen, former Bruin. He's going to be playing on that first line.
Yeah, I see that. Yes.
Evan Rodriguez and Dominic Simon. Those are their big pickups. You're looking at Jeff Carter, Brian Rust, and Heinen on that first line, and that's not going to scare anybody. It really isn't going to scare anybody. Yes, Jeff Carter's a good player. Yes, Brian Rust is a good player. Danton Heinen, this is already like his third team. He hasn't put it together yet. He's got a lot of talent, but he's just not putting it together. And
43 games last year, 14 points. Not going to cut it. 7 goals.
No, and he's on the first line.
And you're trying to replace Crosby and Malkin.
Right.
And it's not going to really do it for you.
No.
So do we feel like this team with the injuries probably takes a step back in this division?
It probably takes a step back, but it might still make the playoffs. Enough. I think it'll have enough. Crosby and Malkin coming back, they will work extra hard when they are back. And not that Crosby works very hard, but
there it goes. Got to take his shots at Crosby.
That's right. I got to take my shots at the baby.
Huh? So let's look at one of the teams that obviously didn't do so well last season. They performed okay. Philadelphia Flyers. They were 25, 23, and 8, 58 points overall. Alan Vigneault is the coach.
Alain Vigneault.
Okay, and there's another French name for you. Claude Giroux. Claude Giroux, 43 points, 16 goals, 28 assists, 27 assists. Brian Elliott was a goaltender, 15-9-2 with a 3.06 goals against. 2.86 goals for 15th, so middle of the pack.
Read the other goaltender because that was their starter.
Okay, 3 points. So what do we got? Carter Hart and Martin Jones. Okay. And then goals against, they were 31st, so the worst team in the league, goals against at 3.52. So the improvement in goalie obviously was needed. Power plays, they were 19.2, which was 18th, and penalty kills 73.1, which was 30th. So definitely some concerns with goaltending. Definitely comes some concerns with penalty kills and being able to when they were shorthanded. So what do you feel they did to try to improve on those areas?
So they brought in Martin Jones from San Jose. San Jose or Anaheim, I can't even remember. For goaltending. But when Martin Jones is only slightly better, 0.896 save percentage, 3.28.
Not very good.
Carter Hart was 877. I think this team is hoping that Carter Hart has a bounce back year. I don't see it happening. And then I see them going with Martin Jones, and it's still not going to happen because they didn't bring in enough. They brought in Nate Thompson, a fourth-line center, another former Bruin, and Keith Yandel is supposed to be their answer, but Keith Yandel was not good enough. This team has got so many holes now. Like, it has some talent up front, but again, we're looking at that same thing that I was saying earlier about the forwards not coming back to help the defense not helping the goaltender, and the goaltender just stinking. So I think it's going to be another rough year for Philadelphia. They got to get their act together with defense, and they got to get their act together with a goaltender. And I don't think they have the answer for it right there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. They're paying some guys some good money, and they don't produce very good numbers. So
no, like Yandel's a -8. If you're trying to shore up your defense, why are you bringing a guy that's a minus?
Yeah, that
it makes no sense to me. I don't know. They didn't do enough.
All right, let's move on to the New York Rangers. So the New York Rangers last season went 27, 23 and 6, 60 points overall, coached by Gerard Gallant.
Thank you for those bits, Chemer.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Artemi Panarin.
Artemi Panarin. He's the bread man. Panarin bread.
Right. 58 points, so 17 goals, 41 assists. So very good with the assists. Igor Sherzhetskin. Chesterkin.
Chikrin?
That's not how that looks to me.
Yeah, well,
16, 14, and 3 with a 2.62 goals against. 3.1 goals for, which was 10th overall. 2.77 against 13th.
Chesterkin. Okay, yeah. You got it.
I got it right. Chesterkin. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Power play is 20.7, so 14th, and 82.3 on the penalty kill, so 10th. Kind of middle of the pack all the way around if you look at everything that they did last season. Again, different season. A couple of teams that are tough in this division. Can the New York Rangers be a factor in this division?
They're going to be a big factor. That's what I'm seeing from this team. First of all, obviously you got Panarin, and they have one of the best defensemen, Adam Fox, in the league. You can compare him to a more offensive Charlie McAvoy, but can still play the defense. Like if there was a defenseman in this league right now, a young defenseman that I'd want on my team, if it's not McAvoy, I would want Fox more. That's how good this kid is.
42 assists last season. So
yeah, he's phenomenal. And he's just as solid defensively. If I'm going to compare him to somebody, I'm going to compare him to like a Brian Leach, former Ranger.
Yeah.
This kid is going to be this kid's going to be an all-star for a long, long time.
So do we feel like they're competitors in this division? Well,
I'm looking at Chris Kreider, Zibanejad, Lafreniere on their starting forwards, and then you have Panarin, Strome, and Kakko. Kakko is probably the wild card in this because I think he's a young player that's going to get better. I mean, he had a pretty decent season last year, 9 goals, 8 assists, not bad. But I think they're expecting a little more this year. They did pick up Patrick Nemeth, who was a +5, and he's going to be playing on that third defensive pairing, and he's probably going to be playing a lot of the penalty killing with Fox. So this is a team that, look, I like it, and I actually fear them as a Bruins fan because this team can do some damage. They have a lot of speed. They have a lot of things you like. It's just goaltending.
So like you said, sneaky, right? They kind of middle of the pack last season, and like we keep discussing last season was obviously an anomaly. It's not the same, but the fact that you could kind of stay in that middle of the ground. Usually, if you make 1 or 2 pieces or 1 or 2 of these guys step up, usually that gets into that next echelon. So we'll have to see how they do. But
and like I said, Eric, they really only signed one notable guy, and that is Patrick Nemeth. But that +5 is huge for this team because it's going to give them a lot of playing time on that penalty kill, and it's going to get them a lot of minutes taken away that Adam Fox is going to.
So it should help them all the way around. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, it's going to be huge for that. I think this team looks wonderful, to be honest with you.
So let's talk about the team that last season lost in the Stanley Cup, and that was the New York Islanders. 32-17-7, 73 points, coached by Barry Trotz. Matthew Barzal was there. Barzal. Yeah. 45 points, 17 goals, 28 assists. Semyon Varlamov. Oh, I hacked that one. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
19, 11, and 4, so 2.04 goals against. So you look at the goaltending. Didn't score very well as a team, though, last season. 2.71, 21st overall. Goals against 2.23, though, which was second in the league. Penalty, power play, 18.8, 20th, but 83.7 on the penalty kill, 6th. So we know where their strengths are. Offensively, did they do enough to kind of get their goal scoring up to keep them competitive and possibly get back to the Stanley Cup?
They did not go out and go get anybody offensively. They did make one key signing that I think from what I
thanks for
believe,
joining.
they
Appreciate
got
it.
they got Zdeno Chara. They signed him. Now, defensively, they were fine. You know, I think Chara is there for one thing and one thing only, and he's going to be playing that third line defensive unit. That's what he's slated to play. So he's not going to play a lot.
Mhm.
I think they got him there as like a player coach, and
Have a good night.
I think he's going to get players to play harder and better as a whole. So him being there might actually help them in scoring, even though he will have nothing to do with that extra scoring. But mentally, I think that's what their thought is.
Gotcha.
Because look, Barry Trotz is a tough coach. And what better to have one of the toughest players in the league in Zdeno Chara?
Listen, you're getting a player that you know has the experience, has been there. That can only strengthen your team. So It's not like he has to be coached. It's more about what can he do to continue to keep this team motivated to say, look, we lost last season. He's a player coach. Yeah,
he's a player
coach.
We
lost last season. We need to make sure that we don't, just take that for granted and continue to play hard.
Right.
Again, there's still a very good team. It's a very interesting division. I mean, there's a lot of teams in here that can make some noise. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out.
Absolutely.
As the season goes. So obviously, as we're doing Sports Unfolded every Friday night at 6 p.m., we're going to have a lot of hockey to talk about because I'm really excited about what we're going. We got the last team that we're going to discuss in the Eastern Conference, and that's the New Jersey Devils, who weren't very good last season. We can say that. 19-30-7, 45 points, coached by Lindy Ruff, who's former Buffalo coach, correct? I know he's been around. Pavel Zacha, 35 points, 17 goals, 18 assists. And then Aaron Dell was that goalie that I had on record, which was 4.14 goals against. Obviously, they've made some changes there at goalie. 26th overall in the league in scoring goals for, which is 2.59. 3.38 goals against, 27th. Power plays 14.2, 28th. And penalty kills 71%, dead last in the league. So a lot needed for this team to improve. Not in an easy division as well. So did they do anything, Ron, that makes you feel like they'll be any better this season?
Okay, so they re-signed Dougie. They signed Dougie Hamilton. Big signing. That and Tomas Tatar, which we were talking about, the Montreal Canadiens. That's where he ends up. They have a good offensive player and a good defensive player who can also play offense with his style of defense. And that is going to make this team much better because they didn't have anybody to bring out the puck. Bernier was sat back there and he was by himself pretty much the whole game, taking shots. Jack Hughes, Tatar, and Sharon Govich are going to be the first line. Jack Hughes, to me, needs to be better. He needs to be better.
So a young kid, though, 20 years old. I mean, again, probably just still coming into his own.
Yep. Yeah.
So, again, to your point, if he can improve enough to help out and contribute a little more. So at 31 points last season, and 11 goals, 20 assists. I mean, you get that up to 40. I mean, those 10 extra points could definitely make a difference.
So the biggest difference on this team is, you had Patrick Subban, who was a minus 16 as their best defensive player. That is going to be different with a plus 20 Dougie Hamilton. Yeah. So that's going to make a world of a difference.
No, so again, we'll have to see if those additions. So, like you said, couple big signings there. So that's going to be important. I think we lost your camera. Ron, you still with me, audio wise? I think I lost Ron, and this is hockey. I can't do hockey on my own, my friend. Hopefully he's coming back. We're having some technical difficulties on his end. But we are on our NHL preview show. This is Sports Unfolded. We are on every Friday night at 6 p.m. On Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Rhode Island _broadcasting on Twitch. And then you can follow us on Rhode Island Broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. You can follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter. You can also see us on Instagram on Sports _Unfolded. And a couple of other, different mediums on podcasts with Amazon, Anchor, Google, and Spotify. So a bunch of different ways to watch us, listen to us. Again, this is our NHL preview show, so we're really excited. We're on to our Western Conference. So we've gotten through the East, my friend. Gotten through the East. Little over an hour. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Nope. And, hey, you've gotten a lot of names actually right. So hey, that's pretty good.
That in itself is an accomplishment. So I'm pretty happy with myself on that one. And we've got definitely some Twitch response tonight. So we appreciate everybody that's been watching us live on Twitch. You guys have been great. And thanks for the bits. We really appreciate the support. Let's talk about
100 bits. Was that 100 bits?
100 bits plus Turd Mitras gave us, I believe, 15 total. Awesome. So awesome. Really good job. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to talk about the first team here in the Pacific in the Western Conference, and that's the new team. So they got their expansion team, the Seattle Kraken. First year coach,
the Kraken.
Dave Hackstall. Again, you're the hockey guy, so I will let you. What does this team have? What did they pick up that you feel is going to help them this season?
Okay, so first of all, I've been listing a lot of new acquisitions for these teams. Everybody is new for this team. So
obviously being a first-year team, very good analysis right there.
So
you don't get this analysis anywhere else, people.
Top notch.
That's
okay.
All new players on Seattle Kraken, all of them. Good job.
So I don't see a lot of goals coming from this team.
Yeah,
the first line is pretty interesting with McCann, Schwartz, and Eberle. Eberle coming from the Islanders. That was big. Schwartz from St. Louis. So they've picked some teams up, apart, and they've created a team. It's not going to be Vegas's first season.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But Philip Grubauer.
Look at that. Those numbers. Wow.
Was plucked away from Colorado, and I don't know why Colorado ever let this guy go for any reason.
Unless it was a financial thing, because $5.9 million? But how do you give up a guy that's average 1.95 goals against, 30-9 last season, 92.3 save percentage?
Yeah,
wow.
Those are better than Tuukka Rask numbers, and Rask gets what, 8 million, 9 million?
Yeah.
So
he's only 29, so it's not like you're looking at maybe it was an age thing. It looks like to me it would be a contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Colorado has a lot of good players and stuff, but when you lose your goaltender that's that good, it could spell.
So let me ask you this question: defensively, how do they look? Because if you look at it offensively, they're not going to put up a lot of goals. Do they have enough defensively that the goaltender now isn't exposed because they're not as good defensively?
I love their defense. I'm actually kind of jealous. That's how much I love their defense. Mark Giordano, he's a +5, 9 goals, 17 assists last season in a short year, mind you. Adam Larson, who they got from Edmonton, +2. He was a +2 in Edmonton. Their defense was terrible in Edmonton, but he was the one that they should have kept. 4 goals, 6 assists. They're not getting him for his points. They got him for his defense. Carson Soucy, a +22.
Yes.
From Minnesota. Good. 1 goal, 16 assists. I mean, and the other 3 guys are complementary to each of them on their lines. And I love the defense on this team. The defense and goaltending is going to be incredible.
Do you see a lot of the Vegas Golden Knights style where they tried to go goaltender defense? Look, you didn't get as many goal scorers, but look, if you can hold teams
right
to a certain amount, of goals, you got an opportunity to win each game.
Right. They have a lot of guys. Let me see. If I'm looking really quick, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably around 8 or 9 guys that'll give you a point every 2 games. That's pretty good. 8 or 9 guys that gives you a point every 2 games. That's a couple of goals at least. Okay. So, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you can get one guy to overachieve and that guy could be somebody, you don't even know, like Ryan Donato, say he's on the third line. What happens if he scores 20 goals? You know what I'm saying? So it's there's a lot of potential on that team. Like you can do the number crunches and put all the numbers down. I believe it's Ron Francis that's running this team. And look, if I'm going to leave it in anybody's hands, Ron Francis is a great person to leave it in. I think he's looking at chemistry with players, what the styles and stuff like that. Because if you look, 3 guys on the first line, they're from Canada. 3 guys on the second line from Sweden. So you're looking at guys that are going to probably play pretty well together.
Or they've probably even played like national teams. They've played together.
This is what I'm saying. It's like
that makes sense.
Like this could be a big surprise team. I don't think it's going to work out that way, but they're not going to go down easily. This is going to be a tough team to play.
I think the fun thing to see is obviously Seattle, they have the Seahawks, and you look at the 12th man in that group of fans in the NFL. I'm very curious to see because they've been dying for either a basketball or a hockey team. They get that hockey team home ice and how they can respond in their own arena. They may get some wins just based on that crowd because they're going to be fired up and they've been dying for this for quite some time. That sometimes that momentum alone, and like you said, quality players, they're not great, but they're quality players where that crowd, and if they feed off that crowd, now some of these guys are averaging more points than they normally would because they're getting that home ice, right? And that could be a factor. It's going to be a very fun season to see because we haven't seen any expansion in any of the major sports in quite some time now. So it should be fun to see and see how this all works out.
Yeah, I'm excited. And when we do our predictions, just pay attention to what I said here in Seattle.
All right, deal. I love it. All right, let's move on to the Calgary Flames. They were 26, 27, and 3 last season, 63 points, coached by Daryl Sutter. Johnny, another French name, Gaudreau?
Johnny Gaudreau.
So close. 49. You know what we got to do, Ron? We got to stop playing some NHL. And then that way I get the names to call out when we're playing. 49 points, so 19 goals, 30 assists. Jacob Markstrom was their goaltender, 22, 19, and 2, but 2.66 goals against, not too bad. Goals for, 277, 20th overall, 2.86, 16th overall goals against. Power play, they were 18.3, 21st, and then 80.2 on penalty kills for 15th. So middle of the pack, some lower numbers. Goal scoring looks like one of the keys that they need. Did they pick up anybody?
This team so underachieved. This is the team that should have been in the playoffs instead of Montreal. And Calgary was such a disappointment last year. It's such a disappointment. They did do a lot of work this offseason. They picked up center Blake Coleman, but he's got a 1-game suspension he's got to serve.
Hey, come on.
So
already
for a hit on in a preseason game.
Hockey.
He had 14 goals, 17 assists. He was a plus 15 last season. So that's a big pickup. They also signed Brad Richardson and Trevor Lewis for the fourth line. So they did some things here and there on the team. The key I'm looking at, because Coleman is probably going to center Lucic and Pitlick. Like we know Milan Lucic, here in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a guy to actually play with him. And hopefully Lucic still has some gas in the tank. Because if he does, that second line and third line is going to be much better this year. And even their fourth line is going to be more improved. They also got Dan Vladar from the Bruins, one of the rookie goaltenders that they were showcasing last year. With Swayman, it made it easy to send him packing because they didn't want to go in with two rookies. So if Markstrom does falter, which I don't think he will, I think he's going to have a good year. Vladar is the backup, and I don't think he's good enough to start. So, at least not yet. But I think this team is going to improve a lot. It's going to be very good.
The only question I would have, if I'm looking at the defensemen, there's only two guys that were actually a plus, and that 15 plus for Christopher Tanev.
Chris Tanev.
And then Nikita Zadorov. So again, +1. Everybody else was a negative. Do you think that is just an indication of the team not playing up to their standards?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it lays squarely on some of the forwards, and those forwards were replaced. So they did go out and get some guys to fill spots on lines, and just Blake Coleman alone, that's gonna inject a lot to this team because he's a good hockey player, and I think that's going to change a lot of the vibe in Calgary this year, and they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough this year, and I would not be surprised if they make a deep run.
And again, if we look at the actual the division so far, I'm only seeing like two teams that honestly are probably top tier, and after that, they're all kind of either middle of the pack or lower teams. So we'll have to see. They could make some noise.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the team that was a disappointment if you look at from the standpoint of where they finished, and that would be the Vegas Golden Knights. So they went 40-14-2, 82 points, coached by Peter Dubauer.
Okay.
Mark Stone was their leading points with 61 points, 21 goals, 40 assists. Marc-Andre Fleury was their top goaltender. Obviously, we know he's gone. 26-10-1 with a 1.99 goals against. I don't know how you replace that.
You don't.
So goals?
You don't.
Yeah, right. Goals for, they were 3.39, third overall. So they put the puck in the net. Yeah. They also were the number one team goals against at 2.18.
Yeah.
Power plays, it could have been a little better, 17.8, 22nd. But penalty kills, 86.8, number one in the league. So again, if you look at you weren't scoring on them. We obviously know that. The replacements, what do you see?
Okay, so first of all, the replacement for Fleury is Robin Leonard. Had a great year, 2.29, 913 save percentage, 13-4. He's not Marc-Andre Fleury, and I know, look, Vegas did not do well in the playoffs. And I gotta blame that on the coach, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. Everything that Vegas has done, they did right up until the playoffs when they decided, Leonard's playing really well, so we're gonna start playing him. If you have two goalies in the playoffs, you don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
You got to ride that one guy. Yeah. And that you do or die with that one guy.
Like you said, the two teams that made it, that's what they did.
Yeah. And, look, Fleury is a great goaltender. And if he has a bad game in a playoffs, why would you take him out? Because he's your best chance to win. And I don't care what Leonard's numbers were at the time. It didn't matter. Fleury is a winner. He has proven it over and over and over again. And for them to be this big of an ego thinking Leonard is going to be their future goaltender, it's ridiculous. And they're going to find out in a hurry what the difference is.
So again, I think he's 30 years old. And if you start to look at the team, right, the age of some of the key guys, they're all in their early 30s, which isn't old by any stretch of the imagination. But the time, the window's closing.
It is. Right?
And Fleury was such a big piece of that. Do they have enough, Ron, to still be one of the dominant teams in the – not even in just a division, but in the whole entire league based on losing Marc-Andre Fleury?
Okay, they lost more than just Fleury. If you look at their lines now, Pacioretty, Chandler Stevenson, Mark Stone, 59 goals they had combined last year.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. That's a great line. Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith, 46. Another solid line. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, third
line, 17 goals combined is not going to get it done. Yeah. And it's even worse on the fourth line.
Yeah, 13 assists, 14 goals,
like
23 assists. At least they got the puck moving a little bit more, but
they're top heavy now. I don't know. They signed Laurent Brossoit.
Brossoit. I like it.
From Winnipeg. He's going to be the backup goaltender.
Look at that defenseman, though. Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
That's some impressive numbers. There's only one guy that was a negative.
It is impressive numbers.
Wow. Alec Martinez, 20 plus 26.
Yeah.
Shea Theodore, 20 plus 28. So
he's a great defenseman. Shea Theodore is really good. So they're going to still be defensively strong, but
can they get enough points, right?
They'll get enough points. They'll make the playoffs. That's not going to be a problem in this division.
You're concerned about the goaltending in the playoffs.
But when the playoffs start, I don't see them getting past first round.
All right. Look at you. You're making a lot of – I like it. Rotten. The hockey guy, the hockey knowledge, it's everywhere right now. Let's move on to a team that really needs to make some improvements, and hopefully you can help this team out. That's the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh,
they went 17-30-9 last season, 43 points, coached by Dallas Eakins. Max Comtos.
That's what I was talking about. Maxime
Comtois. 33 points, 16 goals, 17 assists. John Gibson was at goaltender last season, 9-19-7, 2.98 goals against. Worst scoring team in the league at 2.21, so they were 31st. Goals against, 3.16 at 23, so not much better on the defensive end of it. Power play, 8.9%, 31st overall. So they really did not score on power plays at all last season.
And I thought that was a typo.
They were the only team that was a single. Yeah, they were the only team with a single digit.
They're terrible.
So that was really bad. Penalty kill 79.9, 16th overall in the league. Ron, what's going on with the Ducks here?
Well, we'll just say that they didn't sign anybody notable.
So
they signed a bunch of minor leaguers.
Gotcha.
They re-signed Getzlaf. I don't know why he re-signed with them. Probably because his age, and probably nobody else wanted him at this point. This is going to be a dreadful year for Anaheim. So we was talking about Buffalo being the worst in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. Anaheim is the worst in the West. They are going to battle it out with Buffalo for the number one pick.
Okay.
Like, this team is terrible. It might be worse this year than last year.
All right. Let's not
If
waste
you
more
can
time
even
on
believe
it.
that. No, let's move on from Anaheim.
Let's get a better team in here.
Sorry, Anaheim, but
Yeah,
you guys are in for a long year.
Truth hurts. Truth hurts sometimes. Let's Vancouver Canucks. And let me see if I can find it. Where are the Canucks here? Oh, there they are.
Vancouver.
All right. So last season, 23, 29, and 4, 50 points, coached by Travis Green, Brock Broser, leading 49 points, 23 goals, 26 assists. Thatcher Demko, 16, 18.
Demko, very good.
Oh, bro. 16, 18, and 1, 285 goals against. Goals for 2.64, 24th overall in the league. 3.34 goals against, so 26th. Power play 17.4, 25th, and then 79.8 for penalty kill, 17th. Not impressive numbers. What did they do? Anything?
I have a lot of notes on Vancouver because I kind of like the team. You know, I think they're going in the right direction. We'll just say that. Is it enough this year? No, but it is the right direction. They signed Halak for goaltender, so he'll be the backup and in the insurance in case, disaster strikes.
Yeah.
Because Halak, as you know, can hold down the fort and he can go on a nice run as he's done in Boston many times.
Yep.
And they signed Luke Shen on defense, +2 Luke Shen. That is good because that defense was not very good last year. And they signed Justin Dowling, a fourth-line center. And I think it's to stabilize them with just a hustle line and get some good defensive play for that fourth line. So they're trying to bring along all these young players like Brock Besser and, JT Miller and Bo Horvat. Those guys, that's the future for this team. And
yeah, they're extremely young.
They are. And they could really use a good veteran. So if by chance Vancouver is in a possibility of getting, into a playoff spot, which I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they'll push for one.
So trade
because
candidate.
of the talent. They could trade for a veteran, I'm not going to say Chara, but somebody like that, whether it's a forward or a defenseman that can bring some leadership. That's what they need on this team is that one guy that can bring some leadership. They don't have that.
Yeah, and you said they signed Justin Dowling, 31 years old. He's one of the oldest players on the team besides Halak at 36, and Halak's just a backup goalie. So, you know what I mean? They're all in the mid-20s for the most part. So, again, a lot of growth there.
I think this is a year where, so if they finish 4th, 5th in that division, I think that's a good positive step for them. They don't want to finish down, around Anaheim. If they do that, it's a disaster of a year.
And
they want to see growth.
Calgary, Anaheim, San Jose, we're going to talk about the Kings. They could be better than these teams. They're all kind of in that same group. They're not great, but they're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they won't be better than Calgary. Calgary is going to be good this year.
Okay,
they underachieved.
You called that. You did. You called that.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the San Jose Sharks.
And what a prominent team.
Yes, 21, 28, and 7 last season, 49 points. Coached by Bob Bogner. Bogner.
You were really close. That was good.
Evander Kane was their leading scorer. 49 points, 22 goals, 27 assists. We know his issues, and he probably won't be with the team. Martin Jones was their goaltender last season, 15, 13, and 4 with a 3.28. He's no longer with the team.
He was terrible last year.
Goals for, they were 2.61, so 25th. Goals against, 3.50, 30th, so second worst. Power play 14.1, 29th, and penalty kills 80.4, so 14th. So definitely have a lot of improvement to go on this team. What did they do, Ron?
Well, first of all, they got rid of Martin Jones. That was big because he was a stiff. Aiden Hill is slated to get the start. 2-7-5, 9-13, 9-9 record. The numbers aren't bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. And if that falls through, then they're going to go with James Reimer, 2.66, 906, 15-5 record. Coming from Carolina.
Yeah, not bad.
Again, Carolina also had a really good defense over there. So, take those numbers for what they're worth. I don't think Reimer is that good of a goaltender. At least Aiden Hill played with this team and has some capability, because his numbers aren't bad.
And then defensively, no guys were actually a plus.
Yeah, no.
All minuses. And the best one was a -6.
Yeah, and that might stay again.
Mario Ferraro.
Yep.
So, what do you think, though? Do they? So, can they do anything with? Obviously, you got a couple of tough teams in this division.
Yeah. Well, they signed Nick Bonino, center. He's going to be the third line center. They are really strong at center ice. That's a pretty good pickup. They have Logan Couture on the first line center, 17 goals, 14 assists. Tomas Hertl, 19 goals, 24 assists on the second line.
Really good.
The problem is they have no one to pass the puck to.
The left wingers are definitely now two guys that haven't even played.
Yep.
So that could be a factor there.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, this whole division to me is a little.
It's bad.
Up in the air. Yeah, it's up in the air. There's not too many good teams.
It's the weakest division.
Let's look at the Los Angeles Kings and what they did last season. Not a barn burner team here. 21, 28, and 7, 49 points, coached by Todd McLennan. Anze Kopitar. I did it. I got it. 50 points.
Kopitar is right.
All right. 13 goals, 37 assists. Calvin Peterson was their goaltender last season, 9, 18, and 5 with a 2.89 goals against. 2.54 goals for, 27th overall in the league. 3.02 goals against, 21st. Power play is 18.9 at 19 overall in the league. Penalty kills, though, not bad. 83.7 for 7th in the league. What do you think? Peterson's obviously got to improve. That's a must.
Okay, so everybody talks about and raves about Drew Doughty as a defenseman.
He's getting paid like a top defenseman.
Yeah, well, he used
minus
to
14. Minus 14.
Yeah. Well, he's a minus 64 in the past 3 years. And they're still touting this guy to be the guy on that defense. And
I mean, the positive is they only got 6 more years with him.
Yeah, this is
at this rate, Ron. We're looking at a record
contract outside of Skinner.
That's
sorry. Look, I like Drew Doughty as a player. He's a nice player, but he isn't going to get your defense better. He's not going to get your defense better. This is a team that could have signed Chara and made a huge difference on this team. This team, Chara, would have been godlike because he could have gotten everybody to play better. And if you put him on the line with Drew Doughty, that would have made a huge difference in Doughty's game. And I would have then said, well, maybe LA can contend. You know, they might be soft on, some of the positions, but that would have shored up their defense incredibly. And I think that would have changed the whole outlook for LA. But instead, they did nothing. They signed Philip Deneau, who's a +9, 5 goals, 19 assists. Good signing. It's a good signing. As I choked to death. and signed
maybe didn't agree with
Alex Edler. They
Yeah.
signed Alex Edler as a defenseman. They think that's going to be their answer for defense, and no.
Yeah, their numbers don't look too good.
No.
Again, no guys at a plus. They had a couple guys that were even, but yeah, not looking very good there. So we're going to say the Kings still probably going to be where they were last season, in that same ballpark.
7th.
Let's move on to a team with obviously one of the biggest stars in the league, and that would be the Edmonton Oilers. And 35, 19-2, 72 points, coached by Dave Tippett. Connor McDavid was the top points, and I believe in all of the NHL at 105 points, 33 goals, 72 assists. Mike Smith was the goaltender at 21-6-2, 2.31 goals against. So really good there. Goals for 3.27, 7th overall. Goals against 2.75, which was ranked 12th. Power play 27.6, 11th. And penalty kills 82.5, which was 9th. So obviously some room for improvement. And then again, disappointment in the playoffs. Did they do enough around Connor McDavid to honestly take that next step?
I believe they did, and I believe this is going to be a totally new season for Edmonton. Again, this is a team that could have signed Chara and made it even better. But what they did do might be enough to get them through and over the hump. The first thing is they signed Zach Hyman from Toronto. This is the biggest loss for Toronto. I thought he was probably their best two-way player. And they grabbed him from them. He was 15 goals, 18 assists, with a plus 19 on that Toronto team. And that was a huge loss for them. He's going to be playing on the left side on the second line with Nugent Hopkins and Yamato.
Tell me what he got to.
What was that?
Tell me what he got to, Mr. Yamato.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that line now combines for 39 goals and makes a pretty damn good second line. Biggest ones, though. Cody Ceci from Pittsburgh. So he was only a plus 18 last season.
Yeah, that's all. Not very good.
That's all. Also 4 goals, 13 assists, so he can move the puck up the ice. So there's that. So now you have a guy that can actually bring the puck up and get the puck to McDavid. So that is huge, and that wasn't enough. They picked up Duncan Keith as well from Chicago. He's going to play alongside Cody Ceci, and that's going to change everything for Edmonton because we know playoff time where the problem was. Yeah, they had all that offensive talent, but they had nobody to get them the puck, from their own end. And this changes a lot. It's going to change their power play. It's going to change so many things for this team. It's going to make their defense better. It's going to make their goaltender better. And he had a good year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his numbers were very good.
But where it's going to be glaring is playoff time, because you have some guys now that are viable players, and they also picked up Derek Ryan, a center, +6 as well. So these guys
third line
that they picked up are going to help them in the playoffs the most, because we know they're going to score. Like this team, this division, if they don't take first place in this division, then you got to start with the coach.
And the funny thing, I think you said it, they picked up enough players for the playoffs. These aren't guys they're depending on to say, look, we need you during the season. We need you when it counts the most.
Right.
And they were already pretty good defensively. If you look at Darnell Nurse and Tyson Berry,
Nurse is a great defenseman.
They both have very good numbers. So, to your point, look, depth on the bench, some of those struggles there, a couple of key guys on offense to try to help out with that second and third line.
Yeah.
This could be a contending team.
Oh, contending.
Right?
Like, I think they're a shoe-in for first place in this division.
Love it.
Shoe-in.
Love it. We're going to move on to the Central, my friend.
We are
down to our last division here. And we're going to talk about the Minnesota Wild.
Wow.
And last season, the Wild were 35, 16, and 5, 75 points, coached by Dean Evason. Kirill Kaprizov, 51 points, 26 goals, 24 assists.
That dude, he is a joy to watch. Like, you want to see dynamic and just exciting, because this kid is everywhere on the ice. He is so fun to watch. Like, there's McDavid, who is, easily the best player in the league. Sorry, Sidney Crosby fans. It's been like that since McDavid's been in the league. Sidney has not been number one. This kid is just everywhere, and he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of skill. And in a couple of years, we're going to be talking about this kid a lot.
Cam Talbot was their goalie, 19, 8, and 5, 2.63 goals against, 3.21 goals for, 9th overall in the league, goals against 2.84, 15th, power play 17.6, 24th, and penalty kills 80.8, so 12th overall. So obviously there's some room for growth and improvement. Did they do enough to help out Kirill?
Well, I'm not as high
based on your
on this team. Like, I love that first line: Eriksson, Ek, Zuccarello, and Kaprizov. Love the first line, but I don't know. I just think it's division line. The division alignment does not help Minnesota here.
Yeah,
and
some
they
very
were
good
in good position before. Yeah. This one is going to be tough because there's some good teams in this division.
Yeah, very good teams.
Because I'm looking at them to finish 6th, and that's a big step back. But they can finish first. I mean, that's how quite closely knit these teams are. But I just feel as though that the other teams, I think, are just gonna do it. And I think the only team that I have ahead of them that they can bite is St. Louis, and that could very well happen.
Gotcha. So let's talk about a team that I know you're pretty high on. That's the Chicago Blackhawks. So obviously last season, 24, 25, and 755 points, coached by Jeremy Colton. Patrick Kane was their leading points with 66 points, so 15 goals, 51 assists. Kevin Lankin was their goalie last season. Lankinen. There we go.
It doesn't matter. He's not going to be there.
He's not there. 17, 14, and 5. So key addition was obviously Marc-Andre Fleury. But goals for last season, 2.84, 16th. Goals against at 3.29, 24th. We obviously expect that to improve. Power plays.
So, not to interrupt, but
no, go ahead, bud.
When you look at those numbers, like those numbers glare to me. 2.84 doesn't seem like it's a lot of goals, and it's not. It's not a lot of goals. Giving up almost 4 is a lot of goals.
Yeah.
When you have Marc-Andre Fleury and he gives up 2, those losses become wins. So how many of those losses did they lose by 1 or 2 goals? They are now winning those by 1 or 2 goals. And that's going to probably be a good 10 to 18 wins just from if you were counting last year. So That is going to be huge for this team. Huge.
So, power plays 21.7%, 11th overall, penalty kills 76.8, 28. So we expect them to improve on goals against, penalty kills, obviously with Fleury. Did they add enough offensively to help Patrick Kane?
Well, they did add Jake McCabe to the defense, so that was good. And they added a fourth liner, Jujar Kyra to the fourth line. They didn't really add anything offensively, but you got to look at Taves is coming back. He only played like 3 games last year, and look, he is Chicago's version of Patrice Bergeron. I think he's aging a little more than Bergeron, but he still has a lot of talent. He can still do a lot for this team, and that is going to inject a lot. Look, I mean, if you take away Patrice Bergeron from the Bruins, you send them somewhere else. You got a big hole that you can't fill, and that's what they had last year with Taves. So, him coming back, I mean, just think. Okay, we're adding Patrice Bergeron. That's the dynamic player that Taves is, and it's going to be. You can't even measure it. That's what. Like, you add Marc-Andre Fleury and you add Taves to your team. That is big. And then you added a defenseman, Jake McCabe, to shore up that defense to make sure that Fleury gets protected.
So,
I mean, it's all positives.
Expectation, that they're going to be a much better team this season, just based on those changes.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets. So the Winnipeg Jets were 30, 23, and 3 last season, 63 points. Coached by Paul Maurice. Mark Scheifele, 63 points, 21 goals, 42 assists. I remember that from our show.
Good. That's good.
Connor Hellebuyck. All right, so I figured that one out too. 24, 17, and 3, 258 goals against, 304 goals for, 12th overall, 2.71 against, 23% on power play, so 7th, really good there. Penalty kill, 77.8, 13th. Was this a factor because of that division and being in that Canadian piece that they seem to play better?
No, I think they're a hell of a good team. They have 2 great lines. They have Paul Stastny, Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler. Those guys combined for 54 goals last year. And then they have Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Dubois.
Andre Kopp, or Cope, could be Cope. Nikolai Ehlers. And those guys combined for 45 goals. And then you put Hellebuyck in the pipes. I mean, you got a good start. Their only significant signing was Riley Nash, never thought him a Bruin. He is going to center the 4th line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good because he's a very good defensive player. It's going to make this team, contend. Their defense, of course, is very solid. I like the defense. I mean, they don't have too many big glaring holes. Like, I know that they want to probably get a third liner some point during the year, but they could in fact get some players that coming up through their system, and like Cole Perfetti, if you look at Cole Perfetti, he might be a guy that comes in, plays right wing, and might get some points.
Yeah, so I think the thing, like you said, is and the thing about hockey is that the trade market's always one of those things where give or take where you're at. Again, this team, if they're competitive, and again, there's a few teams in this division, but if they're in that mix, they very well could be making some trades too to try to pick up somebody later on in the season.
And I said Paul Stastny on that first line, but it is Mark Scheifele. I was looking at other notes about Paul Stastny being on that third line.
He's on the third line, yeah.
Yeah, and if they get a right winger, I think somewhere down the trade deadline, because I'm expecting this team to make the playoffs, I think they're going to go for like a right winger on that third line, depending on, of course, if the kid, Versalainen flourishes or not.
Yeah.
And there's some talent. There's some talent all the way through this lineup, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like, Winnipeg should be pretty proud of the team that they've built. This is a team that used to have Line A. So, and then they gave him up. It was like, oh my God, they're going to be decimated.
Yeah,
and it turned out to be better because I think they're better now than with him.
Let's look at the Nashville Predators, 31-23 and 264 points last season, coached by John Hines. Roman Josi was their top points, 33 points, 8 goals, 25 assists. Juus Saras, goalie, 21, 11, and 1. 2.28 goals against, not bad. 2.70 goals for, though, 22nd. Goals against, though, 2.75, 11th. Power plays, 17.6%, 23rd overall, 75.6 on penalty kills, 29th. So, obviously, some improvement needed with the Nashville Predators. Did they do anything that jumps out to you?
So, they did sign a bunch of players. A lot of them were minor leaguers, but 2 of them did stand out. Michael Granlund, second line center, 13 goals, 14 assists. They re-signed him, so they didn't lose that. But they did sign David Rittich, 2.86 goals against average, 901. And I think that's just in case Saros doesn't pan out. I don't think that's really the problem with this team. They had glaring places where they needed to improve, and it's really offensively. I know they're counting on some young kids, Tanner Janot. Only played 15 games last year. They have Philip Tomasino, who didn't play last year. So, so they got some kids that are coming up. But I don't see this team being dangerous at all. Like, even their first line just isn't enough. Like, when you're only scoring 25 goals.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it.
That's terrible. That's not even. Some teams have third lines that have more than that. And, it's bad. Like, Nashville, I think, is in complete shambles this year. And, I don't see anything coming from them.
Let's look at the Arizona Coyotes, then another team that looks like they're underachieving. 24, 26, and 6 last season, 54 points, coached by Andre Torgagni. I know I'm saying that wrong. Phil Kessel was their leading point scorer at 43 points with 20 goals, 23 assists. Darcy Kumperper, goalie, 10, 11, and 3. Kemper. There's a U in there. I don't know. 2.56 goals against. 23rd overall with goals for at 2.68. 3.11 goals against, 22nd. Power play 20.8, 13th, and penalty kills at 80.8 at 11. So just middle of the pack, and then obviously very poor with goals for and against.
Yeah, well, they got rid of the goaltender Kemper. They're going to go with Carter Hutton
Yeah, his numbers don't look good either.
His are just terrible.
Wow.
This team, they were pretty good last couple of seasons, but they lost all those players because all their contracts were up, and they just did not re-sign anybody. So they traded them all away. So they're going young again, and it's the same old. Like, how are these fans ever going to get to enjoy a game when you keep trading away their players? They did sign Ryan Dzingel from Ottawa, Alex Galchenyuk. He signed for a $750,000 contract. Great contract for the player that could pan out and might not pan out. They also got Carter Hutton. Like I just said, that's what their big signing was for a goaltender.
1-year deal, so very smart there.
Yeah, because he's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And
he's 35, so.
And to top it all off, Phil Kessel is a foot injury, and he's going to be out 3 weeks. So his 20 goals and 23 assists are going to be gone for the next 3 weeks, and that's just going to put him even into a bigger hole. Like, if he's healthy, then that first line is okay. It's a good line, 44 goals. It's not too bad, but it's not going to get it done. It's just not going to get it done. This team is going to have a rough year.
Right. So you got Minnesota, Chicago, Winnipeg, all good teams.
There's a lot of good teams.
Arizona not gonna. Yeah, I don't think they make any noise. Let's look at the St. Louis Blues. 27-20-9 last season, 63 points, coached by Craig Berube. There we go. David Perron, 58 points, 19 goals, 39 assists. Jordan Bennington was their goalie, 18-14-8 with 2.65 goals against. 2.98 goals for, 13th overall, 2.98 goals against, so dead even with goal. So they were basically same amount of goals for, goals against. 6th in power play, though, at 23.2, and 25th overall in penalty kills at 77.8. What do we like about the Blues?
Well, St. Louis Blues, this is a tough one for me because every year they keep losing a couple of players, but it seems to be the players that give the team identity. And this year is no different. I have them finishing just ahead of Minnesota, but like I said, that could flip-flop. I don't see them going anywhere below 6th, but I can't see them getting more than 5th in that division either. So, like they have Torrey Krug and Justin Falk on defense. They also have Marco Scandella on defense. But after that, it's like slim pickings for their defensive players. Brandon Saad, I believe they have him on that first line with Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron.
Yep.
It's a pretty good line. That's a really good line.
Look very good.
Yeah.
Just from a point standpoint, the 3rd and 4th lines definitely don't have much.
Right. They signed James Neal from Edmonton, who had just an awful season in Edmonton. He was on Vegas and had a great year, before that. And when he went to Edmonton, he just got lost, I guess, and didn't put in the effort. I guess it was supposed to just come, I guess he expected to be on like McDavid's line or something. I don't know, and just get points, and then was sour grapes maybe. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but to me, it didn't look like the effort was there. And here he is now on a 3rd line, getting $750,000 rather than piling up a whole bunch of money because he did well in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Look, it's lost opportunity.
A 1-year deal. So again, maybe he does decide to play a little harder and actually earns that next contract.
And
So
I think that's
that's
what they're hoping
to me,
for.
that's a good contract. You sign the guy on a 1-year deal that has the potential to do more for you. And again, if he decides he wants to make some money, it's really on him.
And if he does come in and does make, a statement season, by being aggressive and basically taking control of the game out there on the ice when you're out there. I mean, that can go a long way. And if it gives the team an identity, then great. Then St. Louis can do well. But I don't see it happening. Just strictly on going by what I see, from the Dallas improvements. And, that is what's going to make St. Louis maybe fall out of playoff contention.
All right. Let's we're down to our final two here. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Colorado Avalanche. So again, another team that kind of disappointed. 39-13-4, 82 points, coached by Jared Bednar. Mikko Rantanen, 66 points, 30 goals, 36 assists. Philip Gruber.
Yep.
Gruber.
Who's no longer there.
Right. We already talked 39-1, 1.95 goals against.
Right. How do you give that up?
Best scoring team on in the National Hockey League last season at 3.52, 2.36 goals against, so third. Power play 22.7, eighth, and penalty kills 83.1, eighth. So again, top 10 in all key categories. What's going on with the goaltending first and foremost?
Well, they picked up Darcy Kemper. Oh my God, that is such a big drop off. There's just the save percentage alone, 907, tells you everything you need to know. He's an average goaltender at best. And then the backup isn't even as good. So, look, if there's going to be an Achilles heel, it's going to be their goaltender. And I think they'll easily make the playoffs.
So we know they can score, right? That's
the team itself, the forwards. I mean, you're looking at Nathan McKinnon, who might be the best player, outside of McDavid. Landeskog and Rantanen. That's a great line. And then you have Kadri, Nishkushkin, and Burakovsky. That line can score 40-plus goals. They have some talent. They even have a young kid, Sampo Ranta, who's actually a really, really good player. He's going to get his first opportunity this year. And I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be a good player for them. And I just think all around, the whole roster is really solid until you get to the goaltending now. And that.
So can I compare it to an NFL losing Drew Brees and having Jameis Winston, right? We know the talent was in New Orleans and they could win. Is that goaltender going to hurt them like it's hurting, the Saints?
It might not even be that good like the Saints.
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah, so that's I mean, overall their numbers were phenomenal. They looked like in the playoffs they were going to just dominate, and then they fell apart.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that turns out. But again, still a contender, correct? It's depending on what the goaltender does.
Yeah, I think Colorado organization might have looked at Darcy Kemper, his numbers, and it was in Arizona, and I think maybe they're hoping that it'll be better
with more talent.
And it could be, because that defense is no joke either. That's a good, solid defense. You have a lot of good forwards that do play two-way hockey, and it could very well be that. It might disguise, the goaltending for the regular season. But again, we talk playoffs. Darcy Kemper is not going to get you there.
Yeah.
It's not going to win a Stanley Cup. This team will not win the Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper as the goaltender.
You heard it here. Sports Unfolded. Ron, last team, my friend.
Dallas
Dallas Stars.
I'm going to
20
the Big D in Dallas.
23, 19, and 14, 60 points last season. Rick Bowness was their coach. Joe Pavlovsky.
Pavelski.
51 points, 25 goals, 26 assists. Anton Kudobin,
former Bruin.
12, 11, and 7, 2.54 goals against, 2.79 goals for, 18th overall, 2.64 goals against, 8th. 5th on the power plays at 23.6, and penalty kills 79.1 at 19. So some good, some bad. What do you like about the Stars?
I like the Stars. And I think they shored up some holes that they needed to. Especially that defense. Like, they can score some goals. We know that with Tyler Seguin. But they signed Ryan Suter, who's a +9 from Minnesota. Another loss for Minnesota, and this is why I had them where they are. So that was big. Yanni Hakanpää, which is now might be my favorite name in the NHL. Hakanpää. They signed him, a +4 from Carolina. Another loss for Carolina. Luke Glendening, a 4th-line center. They also picked up Michael Raffle, who will also play on the 4th line as right wing. So they reworked their whole 4th line. So they got stronger there. And they picked up Braden Holtby, goaltender, who did not have a good year last year. 8.89 with a 3.67 goals against average. Not good.
Mm-hmm.
But they needed somebody to spell, Kudobin. And Braden Holtby, if he has a bounce back season, he's going to do that.
So obviously Taylor Seguin missed some time as well. So getting him back,
3 games last year, and
that should help.
That's going to be huge. So you're going to put Seguin with Jamie Benn and Radulov, and that's going to be a force. That's going to be a great offensive line. And then they have Hintz with Robertson and Pavelski as the second line. And again, that second line has 57 goals combined. They're going to be tough. They're going to be better on defense than they were last year. This team is going to be very, very improved.
So we're at the point in the show where obviously we're going to have you pick what you think is going to happen. So from a standpoint of playoffs and then Stanley Cup. So if we look at basically everything we've done so far tonight, I would ask you this question first and foremost. Which team do you feel is going to be the most improved? Which team do you feel is probably going to take the biggest step backwards? I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize, but I just feel like you, with the knowledge that you have, that you know which team. So step forward. Biggest jump.
New York Rangers. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think the growth on that team, they were starting to show it at the end of last season. This season, it's all going to come to fruition.
I love it. I'm going to go Blackhawks. I love Fleury and that goaltending, I think. And then, as you said, the additions they've made, they really seem like that team that is going to be that number one team. Mostly.
That would have been the one I picked in the Western Conference.
Conference. What about the furthest step back?
Oh God, that could be a few teams.
So look at a team that was actually a contender and may be struggling to contend.
It's got to be Montreal. That's the only one that was a contender that takes a bigger step back. Carolina is another one, but I don't even know I don't think Nashville made the playoffs last year. But
so I would even go I toss up between Vegas and Colorado.
Vegas is taking a step back for sure, yeah.
So you know what I mean? You could see either one of those teams. So what about playoffs, Ron? Who do you got? Let's say how do you want to do this? East and West, or do you?
So we'll do the Eastern Conference, So the way it works in the NHL this year, the top 3 teams in the division make the playoffs, and then there'll be the best 2 teams outside of those will be wild cards. So the top 2 seeds will play one wild card, and the second will play the second wild card, and then 2 and 3 in the division will play each other.
Gotcha.
So in the Eastern Conference, I have Toronto on top.
Okay.
I was waiting for the look. Boston at number 2.
Wow.
Tampa Bay at number 3. I have the Islanders, Rangers, and Washington as the 3 there. So those 6 teams make the playoffs. The 2 wild cards I have picked is Florida at the first wild card, and Pittsburgh as the second wild card.
Wow. Interesting.
Carolina have just out, and then the rest.
West.
So those make the playoffs, and in the West, I have Chicago, Winnipeg, and Colorado making the playoffs. Like I said, that goaltending can be disguised during the regular season. Edmonton, Calgary, and Vegas as the 3 teams there. Again, Vegas disguising the goaltender. Wild card 1, Dallas. Wild card 2, I have St. Louis, but it could be Minnesota or Seattle.
Oh, you got
I like Seattle enough to say, hey, they might make the playoffs.
Might make it.
I don't think any of the other teams will be vulnerable. St. Louis is vulnerable, and if they don't get there, I'm thinking it depends on James Neal. He has to give them identity, and if he doesn't do it, the team is not going to make the playoffs, and then you can see Seattle in there.
Sneak in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So which 2 teams are facing in the Stanley Cup?
Well, I will give you Islanders and Boston.
Okay.
And Edmonton and Chicago.
Okay.
So in order for Boston to do it, they have to get by Tampa Bay because they're going to have to play them. So, but I have them beating them. But I have the Islanders playing Edmonton for the Stanley Cup. And I have
the
Islanders winning it.
Winning it with Chara. This is your Chara. You've talked about Chara the entire show.
And there's a reason for that. And I think, look, Chara is not going to factor into the points and all that stuff.
The leadership.
It's all up here. He is another coach on the ice, and it's for Islanders. That's what they need to get over the hump. It isn't the talent. It isn't the defense. It's purely the capability of knowing what you have to do, because I know he's going to tell stories of how the Bruins went in 2011 and how Patrice Bergeron has all these surgeries right after the season, like broken ribs, punctured lung. He was playing with that. And
no, I love it.
That's gonna bring it there. And this is a big step for Edmonton too this year.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be enough, and I'll even go further. That Chicago's Edmonton series, it could go the other way if Fleury plays, Yeah,
lights out. So once again, if you've joined us, first off, great hockey knowledge, Ron. Appreciate it. This was our NHL preview show on Sports Unfolded. We are on every Friday night at 6 p.m. We cover all sports, all topics. We banter through many different things and have many different segments. But if you like and enjoy us, come watch us Friday nights at 6 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube follow Rhode Island Broadcasting, or on Twitch at Rhode Island_broadcasting. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram, Broadcasting RI on Twitter, and listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. So many different ways to listen to us as well. Ron, these are always fun to do. We did our NFL preview show. This is our hockey show. Might do a basketball next week. We'll discuss it later in the week. But hopefully the season kicks off tomorrow. NHL finally, right? ESPN, TNT, starting to get those major networks involved. So you should see a lot more hockey on TV. This should be fun.
You got to go to a game, even if it's a minor league game. It will change your mind about hockey by actually being at the game. So wherever you are, go to your whatever is local and see a game live, whether it's, AHL, KHL, IHL, whatever the HL it is. Go to a game, because most of those games aren't going to be too much money. Hey, $10 get you in, and you will fall in love with the game because you're right there. You might not know what's happening with offsides and stuff like that and icings, but don't worry about that. Just enjoy the game, because that you got to see it live, and it will change your mind if you haven't watched a game.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited to tune in to TNT and see that broadcasting group. I think they were even going to have like Charles Barkley in for some of it. And we know Charles and what he can say and do. So that's going to be fun.
I love Charles.
Gretzky, right? Gretzky's on TNT as well.
I believe so.
That's going to be some fun times. And ESPN always does some really good basketball. So I'm sure they're going to do just as well with hockey. I'm looking forward to it. Friday night, I'm sure we'll be doing some predictions because hockey will already be gone. So it'll be fun. Ron, thanks again. Great 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not bad. Covered all the teams, 31 teams. Not bad, my friend.
Yeah.
And we got the surprise pick. So the New York Islanders will be the next Stanley Cup champion. You hear it here first on Sports Unfolded. To everybody that joined us live, everybody that contributed, and the bits, we appreciate so much tonight. Any follows that we get, we appreciate. And Ron, as usual, my partner, great night, great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. It was always a pleasure.
All right,
we'll see everybody next time.
Have a great night.